Welcome to the Wake.Show. As everybody knows, a show needs an intro. This is that intro. I am Fisher in the foreground, Sam in the back. I went to Dr. MJ this morning to get my card and did not get one.
No way.
I'm so sad.
Oh my God, what?
Well,
did they not think that you qualified? Because you totally do.
All right. All right, settle down. No judging. Are you a doctor?
Oh my God, I could be.
First of all, we'd like to welcome in our sponsor for the first 15 minutes, Single Source Insurance. Make sure you track down Single Source Insurance at Single Source Insurance or SingleSourceINS.com to get your quote today. And it was really cool to have them in here yesterday. They'll be sponsoring.
Yeah.
For those of you doing some fishing this weekend, you're part of the King of the Beach, Kingfish fishing tournament, then they'll be out there. Make sure you track them down. Oh, little over Molly. Elliot, welcome back. I've missed you so much. I was
welcome
so
back,
sad.
Elliot.
Were you here for that conversation yesterday? No, you weren't. You already gone. So towards the end of the show yesterday, Elliot's mom was on, Sharon, and Chris was going back and forth with her, and then something popped into my head. I go, you know what, Chris? Ever since that day you sat in this chair, and you were making what's that?
Heckling.
There we go. Heckling Elliot. I don't think he's been back on the stream. And Chris just got nauseous. He's like, "Oh my God, I can't believe you said that. I had that in my head after that day coming in here, and I was so worried about it." I'm like, "Well, but Elliot's back, so thank you, Elliot, for being there." My wife Lauren, I see, has joined as well.
How was Foo Fighters?
Foo Fighters was amazing.
She posted a cute picture of you guys on Instagram that I saw.
Eric Stratman, how are you, Eric? I am so sorry that I've lost contact with you. I have had some serious anxiety, and when it comes to calling you and having you back on the show, for some reason that has become impossible over the last couple of weeks. So I'm going to try to get over that today because I want you back on. It's to talk about this. Next Wednesday, we have our 100th episode. We're going to do it live from our huge psych room downstairs, and I would love for you to be a part of that. Elliot, I'm the victim of conspiracy theory myself recently. There's a little conspiracy theory. See, I'm so insecure. I'm so insecure that, Elliot, if you're not here in the morning, I start making up all kinds of stuff in my head. And, it doesn't seem like you've been here for like a week or so since Chris was, good morning, Robert. Since Chris was, how'd you call it? Oh, heckling your comments that I thought you were like, F you, I'm out of here.
That's what you said to me the day after too. So you've been on this conspiracy theory for a little bit now. Yeah.
When he wasn't there the next day, I was on because as it was happening, it was bothering me. Like, as Chris was like, I can't even remember the comments that McCarty made, at Elliot. Like, you can do better than that, or, that one's weak, or something like that, And Elliot's one of those that will post, punch like comments all the time, and they all make me laugh. Sometimes I read them out loud, sometimes I don't. So, and it's not in my personality to go back at somebody. Like, if I appreciate any comments you guys leave here in the comment section, right? And so I just am not good. I don't care how, even if it is a horrible joke or the comment just doesn't make any sense whatsoever, I'm not going to sit there and go, "Oh, hey, so-and-so, what does that mean? That is ridiculous." Because I appreciate that you guys are here. Adam, good morning. Brian, good morning. Franco, how you doing? Welcome to the Wake.Show. Thank you for being here. Our 100th episode coming up next Wednesday. Make sure you guys are tuned in for that. I got to get our gift cards. We have 4 giveaways that day, at least 4 giveaways that day coming from Dat's group. And
and some stuff from Single Source too, they said. Yes.
So we'll be giving them stuff away. I'll also want to invite some of you down for that show, but I still don't know how many people we can invite down and how many chords already has lined up. Like, does he have, business partners lined up to come in, or do you know anything about that, Sam?
I'm not sure. He might be talking to those guys from The Identity. I'm not sure if he's reached out to them. He probably will. But as far as inviting people that you want to invite, we have that entire viewing room,
right?
As well as we could probably put some people in the studio that are
and I know
trustworthy.
I know it's only a week away, and that would be an hour and a half out of your day, and not everybody could do it. But Elliot, if you could get away from work next Wednesday, I would love for you to come down here and check out the show.
Did you text Johnny?
I have not.
You should do that now. Okay. He wants to do it. I just don't know how busy he'll be.
That's let me do that right now because you know how I am.
Okay, and Chris McCarty will be there performing.
Yes.
As well as giving his commentary. And it's going to be
we
awesome.
got to talk to... Okay, hold on a second here.
About what happened yesterday?
Hey, man, I hope all is well, period. I've been meaning to text you, period. I apologize. It's such short notice, but are you available next Wednesday to be a part of the 100th episode? ? Would love to have you here, period. There we go.
He could bring Marco by.
Bring Marco Rubio. LOL.
Could you imagine?
Wait, would love to have you. We'll just there we go. How cool would that be? Marco Rubio comes walking in here.
That'd be so funny.
And I'm not a political guy. It's not like I'm
just saying. I think it'd be
other.
funny if anybody came in.
That'd be awesome if Marco Rubio was here. So. Also message me for those of you like I know Joey, you're not even in town. That'd be cool to have you here too. But if you guys are interested in checking out the 100th episode, you're not going to be in this little room here with us. You're not going to be in this little this room we got here. We're going to go down into the big studio, the main studio. Do you know if we're bringing the equipment down and I'm handling everything like we normally do during a show, or is he planning? Are we like doing lavaliers and getting a production crew and?
We're supposed to have multiple cameras as far as what he says.
Well,
so
I got multiple cameras. Look at that. 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, but like nice
4.
multiple cameras, like what we do for Bake More Music.
All right.
So I think we got something cooking.
Awesome.
In the kitchen.
And that is going to be brought to you by the DATS Group. Thank you so much, DATS. All right, let's get to on this day. Chris McCarty's on his way in. We definitely have. I hope he gets here soon. Before you leave, Sam, because we definitely have to.
Yeah, that was weird.
It doesn't need to be a long conversation because we have a guest today, a conspiracy theorist in here who wants to walk us down the path and have us relook at everything from the moon landing to Sandy Hook and 9/11. So get ready for that. Get ready for that. Because listen, we can sit here and talk about the moon landing, whether that happened or didn't happen, and not get too heated. But once we start getting into those conspiracies where people died or allegedly died, well then that's where I know that you guys watching may get triggered. So we'll try to keep this as cordial as possible, and we'll work our way through it, okay? Work our way through it because our guest and even Chris, I think Chris McCarty is more in line with our guest today when it comes to these conspiracy theories than me. I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh yeah, maybe it did happen. Maybe I'm not going to waste any brain power on it and move on to I got more important things in my life. It's more like I don't buy into the conspiracy theories. However, if I found out that JFK didn't happen the way they said it happened, I wouldn't be surprised. If the moon landing didn't happen the way, I wouldn't be surprised. I would not be surprised.
No, I feel like the government covers up a lot of stuff all the time.
You too. I'm
not shocked. I wouldn't be like I don't focus on them like you. Like what you said, I feel very much the way that you do, where it's not something that I think about a lot, but the government cover stuff up all the time, so you never know.
They try to cover
you never
stuff
know.
They try to cover stuff up all the time. All right, let's get to On This Day. We like to start the show off with On This Day to put things in perspective and to realize that all the stuff that's making you
oh no, I just went to a Red Lobster last night. What is that?
We'll come back to that one. That's
my god,
that's the dirty dining today.
Great. Where? Oh my god, where?
Red Lobster.
Which Red Lobster?
The one you go to?
No way. Stop. I just went there last night. You were joking.
It's likely not the one you go to.
Oh my god, I gotta Google this. All right, go ahead. I have leftovers from there for lunch today.
Hey, Chris. You got here quick.
Yes.
All right. Oh, we're good. Jahani, how are you, buddy?
Your kid to work day.
Yeah.
What's up?
That's Andrew. We'll get to
Lobster.
All right, so let's get you On This Day. And
want to come slide over?
If you want to put Jahani on the couch there.
Can you just do like this?
Sure. All right. No banging on the table. No, because that mic starts bouncing there.
Oh, thank God, it's not the Red Lobster.
That was for you, Chris, not for Jahani. That was for you. No banging on the table.
Yeah, no banging on the table, Chris.
How you doing, Jahani? It's been a while, buddy. Nice to see you. Doing good?
Yeah.
All right. We're going to have some fun today. We're talking conspiracies today.
See you.
It's nice to see you too, sir. All right. On this day in history, I kind of previewed this. There's not a lot to cover today. Their headline is "The Polio Vaccine Trials Begin on this day in 1954." Lincoln assassin John Wilkes Booth dies on this day in 1865. Trivia question for you two. How many days after the assassination of... I always do this. I always put the answer right behind your head so you can see it. How many days after Lincoln was shot was his assassin killed?
12.
We have 12.
I don't know.
I'm going to say 4.
This is 4. And here we go. John Wilkes Booth is killed when Union soldiers track him down to a Virginia farm.
Oh my God. I swear I didn't know that. I swear.
That's awesome.
I was looking for it, but I couldn't find it.
No, I hadn't clicked on it. I hadn't clicked on it yet.
Okay, cool.
I hadn't clicked on it yet.
Oh, wow.
You feel good?
I do.
Do you feel like you're naturally smart and don't even realize how smart you are?
No, I just feel like I'm a good guesser.
To a Virginia farm 12 days after he assassinated President Abraham. Wait, hold on. Conspiracy theorist that we haven't had on camera yet. Did the Lincoln assassination happen the way that they said it happened?
Probably.
Okay, that's probably.
Probably.
It's not in his wheelhouse. All right. What's next?
Wow.
All right. Now, Studio 54 opens on this day in 1977 for you a little bit older than me that were from New York City that were able to enjoy that era. Nuclear disaster on this day in Chernobyl in 1986. Also, Maria Shriver married Arnold Schwarzenegger. So the day that Maria Shriver and Arnold Schwarzenegger got married was also the day that Chernobyl melted down. But lastly, I want to click on this one right here because this is the one that they always pique my interest with the things that seem like the most unimportant. Girl murdered in pencil factory, 1913.
Oh my goodness.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
intrigued.
let's click. Girl. Whoop. That's Lincoln. Girl. Does it ring a bell? By the way, just me throwing that out there. It's like, oh, I know exactly where they're going with this one. Adam guessed 11, 12. So where did it go? Sorry, I lost it.
Okay.
Okay, here we go. So on this day, 1913. This is 105 years ago. 13-year-old Mary Fagan is found sexually... Okay, here we go. Molested and murdered in the basement of an Atlanta, Georgia pencil factory where she worked. Her murder later led to one of the most disgraceful episodes of bigotry, injustice, and mob... Okay. One of those stories.
Yeah.
Do we want to even read it? Because I'm sure it's going to get horrific from here. And we got kids in
we have a sweet little child.
All right.
In this
Yes.
All right. I'm not going.
Thank you.
All right. For those of you at home, I'm not going to read it out loud. We're just going to read a little bit together. I'm just curious and just how horrible.
Speak in code.
All right. Ooh. This will be a good
spell it.
in case my wife and I ever decide to start a family. This will be a good way for how do we talk about the subjects like this around the children. So here we go.
Okay. Yeah, go for it. Let's see. Let's see how this won't come out terrible.
So,
start at the first sentence.
13-year-old Mary Fagan. They found her. Bad stuff. No, there's no way.
Wait, I'll do it. Watch.
Yeah, go ahead.
All right. 13-year-old Mary Fagan was found, touched, gone in the basement of Atlanta, Georgia, pencil factory where she worked. The person who did it was later led to most disgraceful episodes of bigotry, injustice, and mob violence in American history. Next to Fagan's body were 2 small notes that purported to pin the crime of Newt Lee, the night watchman at the factory. Lee was arrested, but quickly became evident that the notes were a crude attempt by the barely literate Jim Connolly to cover up his own involvement. Connolly was the factory's janitor, a brother, black man, a well-known drunk. Interesting that they had to say a black man, but okay, all right. All right, now we know what's going on.
Well, I'm ahead of you in the story, Chris, and I see why that is relevant.
All right, cool. That's why I said we'll find out. All right, so decided to shift the blame toward Leo Frank, the Jewish owner of the factory. Despite the absurdity of Connolly's claims, they nevertheless took hold. The case's prosecutor was Hugh Dorsey, a notorious bigot and a friend of Georgia's populist leader Tom Watson. Reportedly, Watson told Dorsey, "Hell, we can lynch anytime in Georgia. Oh man, But when do we get a chance
smokes! All right, now we got
a Yankee. Whoa!
All right. So the judge, was that the judge or the prosecutor at the time, says reportedly Watson told her, "Hell, we can lynch an N-word anytime in Georgia, but when do we get the chance to hang a Yankee Jew?" This is 1913. Ooh. Now, some people
that's how they spoke back then, I guess.
Oh, come on, no. Well, yeah, they're in Georgia. So then, okay, so fast forward, they try to pin it on so then they got all excited that they were going to be able to lynch a Jew. So he ends up getting convicted. Then the governor tries to releases him. 3 weeks before his term ended, this guy commuted Frank's death sentence in hopes that he would eventually be freed. However, that's when they formed a lynch mob, went down there, imprisoned handcuffed the warden and the guards, abducted Frank, and then he was hanged to death from a giant oak tree. Thousands of spectators came to watch and have their picture taken in front of his. This is insane.
Yeah.
This is insane. And I know sometimes, like, come on, man, there's with the race stuff that's going on in the country, you don't need to, this is, over 100 years ago, this is ancient history. It's not. People are still alive today that were alive then. Or, I mean, granted, they were probably 1-2 years old. But 1930, there are plenty of people in the world that are 105 years old and older right now. So this isn't ancient history. And this stuff is still trickled down to their children and their grandchildren, all who are still alive today. This isn't like multiple. All right, so enough of that that horrible stuff. Is there one good story before we move on? We'll just have to go back to Studio 54. Country music star George Jones dies on this day in 2013. Reagan visits China in 84. And that's about it. All right, so on this day today, holy smokes, give us a quote of the day. By the way, I pulled up the list of oldest living people.
I thought of a cool quote.
Go ahead.
Every saint has a past, every sinner has a future.
Like that. Every saint has a past, every sinner has a future.
You want the quote from brainyquote.com?
By all means.
One way to get the most out of life is to look upon it as an adventure.
I like that.
Yeah, I like that one too. Yeah. All right, thank you so much to Single Source Insurance for sponsoring the first 15 minutes of the Wake.Show today. Thank you. Looking forward to seeing you guys again next Wednesday for the 100th episode. Good morning, Martina. Yeah. Good morning, Nikki. Says hello, everybody. Martin, Adam, welcome to the Wake.Show. Okay, before we bring in our guest today, there is a
want to discuss something?
Well, here's the thing, Chris. Ever since you left yesterday, I've been waiting to have this show today because of the discussion that we were having down in the psych room. Elliot, by the way, is back.
Hey, buddy. It's awesome.
He says they just made an incredible lynching memorial in Alabama. Did you guys see that? Let me pull that up real quickly because it is pretty incredible. And it's an interesting piece of art because it's made, and correct me if I'm wrong, Elliot, but it's made to be shipped around the country. So this memorial, let me pull it up. This lynching memorial in Alabama built all these things. So they hang. They got names on these blocks, right, that hang. But I think they're made to go to the counties or the cities where all this stuff happened. So like here in the state of Florida, we have one or a couple of these things up in Alabama, and then you'd order. You say, all right, well, go ahead. Our county will take this and make a. Here we go. So this is it. You see what I'm talking about there?
Oh my God.
Oh wow.
This is what Elliot's talking about. So this is the memorial. And like I was saying, I could be wrong.
That's crazy.
But I think each one of those things that are hanging there, the counties where this happened. Yeah, see, Johnston County, North Carolina, Lamar County, Mississippi. Those they're made for these counties to go, okay, we see what you're doing. We're going to go ahead and take that memorial and put it up in this county. Otherwise, I guess they'll stay there in that.
How do you feel?
That is crazy.
What are your thoughts when you see that? What are your thoughts? I have mixed feelings. It's like
I think it's super symbolic. That's like, I don't know. I think their like idea, not that the concept, like the idea behind it is good, but like I think the idea like for this memorial was kind of interesting.
It's so gruesome, you know, hanging, that it's a little unnerving.
Yeah.
But at the same time, that's what it needs to be, and you need. But they do it in such a great way. Look, it's not an effigy of somebody hanging from a rope.
No.
They did it in a way where you would really have to know what's going on to see what they're representing there. So I think they've done a great job of that part of it. But you said you had mixed emotions on that one, Chris.
I mean, I think it's the same emotions that you have, the same emotion that Sam has. It's just understanding it's just an atrocity what people did to people, out of fear, out of misunderstanding, and to know that at a time just how far back I mean, that's not that long ago that people were doing that to people. And so, yeah, but it's good for us to remember that. And again, that whole yardstick, I see that and I go, well, who am I in conjunction with that? And I'm like, man, so I think that it's a reminder that we are, you know, improving in some ways, that we're not doing that anymore. And geez.
Steve, how you doing, buddy? Steve, I'd like to invite you too next Wednesday if you're available. You and your wife, if you guys are available, to come down to Bake More Pies and be a part of the 100th episode.
It's going to be exciting.
Well. Shriner, that'd be cool if you came by the 100th episode. I don't know if you can get away there from what you're doing, but that'd be awesome next Wednesday. Okay, so that's what Elliot was talking about there. And that's enough for On This Day. I do have a couple of things here, but I want to get to after we bring in our conspiracy theorist. But Chris, would you like to? Would you be okay with us talking about what we were talking about yesterday down in the psych room? Because I feel like we were like on opposite pages here. Now, I don't necessarily need to rehash what we were talking. Just kind of get into it today.
I almost would rather my son not be here for that.
That's why I wanted to ask you. So
I appreciate it.
We'll come back to that conversation tomorrow. Okay.
We'll let everybody know the gist of what it was.
So here's what here's how it began yesterday. Chris goes, I want to do we should do a segment on relationships. Mm-hmm. He goes, I'm the relationship guru for all my friends. I love, da 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 da. But then he launches into like this, like a mock piece of advice that all of a sudden I was like, wait a second. And then it also includes, like all guys are like this, all women, da da da. And I was like, all right. So it went south from there. But because of the nature of the conversation, we're going to save it for tomorrow when Jahani's not here.
And it was one of those things that what's good is that Sam was there and she said she understood both sides, which is interesting, which is great. There's validity in what you and I are both saying, which again, it's both sides of the coin.
I understand them both. I'm glad that you didn't ask for my opinion because I wasn't trying to get in the middle of that. I was letting you guys hash it out. Joey was underneath me cowering because he didn't understand.
We did get we weren't fighting.
You weren't fighting, but you both raised your voices, and I think that's why the dogs were like scared, and I was kind of just petting them.
Well, they heard Daddy raise the voice, and they know when Daddy raised it, they're like, whoa. Yeah. And of course, I'm me. You get loud, I get loud too. I can't help it. People call it empathetic. Like, I don't know, my empathy. I feel it. I feel your energy, and I get loud too.
Yeah. No.
To be clear, it was fine. You guys were both fine afterwards, but it was a heated moment.
Which is great. Yeah. That means it's just as awesome.
All right, well, why don't we do this then?
You're so cute.
And what's funny is at the same time I had a friend call me who's going through a divorce and asking me like, Chris, help me out. And I text Chris like, see what I mean? Like it just give advice to everyone. And what's great is, and let me read what she said. And her response was today.
Yeah, and I was in the back. I apologize that I couldn't really interact with you. Only text you back once.
Your words yesterday really helped me meditate through my conversation with my ex last night. I kept my cool and controlled every aspect of it. Thank you so much.
Oh, so nice. There you go. All right, so the relationship guru will begin next week or tomorrow on the Wake.Show.
Yeah.
All right, so why do we do this, Sam? Sam, goodbye. Thank you so much for all your help.
Bye, Sam.
Bye.
Chris, go ahead and switch over to that seat. Can Jahani go on the couch? Would it be all right?
Listen, well, I need to give him some, but I don't want to give him my phone because he'll end up calling all kinds of people and stuff. So listen,
how old is Jahani now?
He's 5.
5 years old.
You're going to sit on that couch. And you're going to be very quiet. And you're going to show everybody that you can just sit still and listen.
Oh, good luck,
you understand?
Buddy. Good luck.
You got me? Show everybody how awesome you are.
Yes, Dad. Oh, yeah. Love you, Dad.
Cool, yeah, please. You want some gum, Bubba? Now, what are you going to say, Jahani?
Thank you.
Shoes. I love the shoes. Jahani and I have a shoe thing.
Bye, Sam.
Bye.
so proud of him. I'm so proud of my son. Aww. So proud of him.
So we got on this day, coming up on the show, school bans BFFs, which is such a ridiculous story. It's a preschool that does not allow the kids to use the term best friend. This person's my best friend, that person's my best friend, because then it excludes other children. It makes them feel bad. Dirty dining. Oh, I didn't even tell Sam which Red Lobster that was. It was one in Lakeland, by the way. 50 cockroaches, I think they found.
What? You better tell her. Hey, you might want to go somewhere else, man.
Did you see Kanye's Trump tweet?
No, someone told me about it.
He's talking about BFFs.
Yeah, there's a video of them together. I mean, you know, that's what friends are supposed to do. You're supposed to back your friend up even if they're acting crazy. But behind closed doors, you're like, dude, what are you doing?
Right. All right, so we'll get to that coming up. But right now, I want to get to conspiracy theories, the moon landing, 9/11, and Sandy Hook. So we'll bring in a conspiracy theorist. And that is Andrew. Come on in, Andrew. We're not going to go ahead and come over. You're gonna sit right there next to Chris.
The other conspiracy guy.
Johanny gets the couch to himself.
Good job, Bubba. Good job, buddy.
All right, Andrew.
Hey, how are you?
All right, buddy. How you been?
I'm good.
All right. So just to give some people some background here, you're not a professional conspiracy theorist or anything like that, right?
No.
You don't have any websites or anything.
No.
You're in security, however. You've been in security for long. Security
you mean, I thought you said insecurity.
That's what I thought you said. I was like, why are you calling me insecurity? I'm like, where does that
do
with it? I'm right there with you, brother.
But you're very insecure, right?
No. But yeah. I've been into the security, and I'm a private investigator, and
all right,
do cool stuff.
Okay. So I've got to know Andrew on Wednesday nights when I'm out doing my Park and Rec gig, and that is at a karaoke from 8 to midnight on Wednesday nights. Did not happen last night because of Foo Fighters.
How was that?
Oh, it was awesome. He was awesome. Just amazing. The band was awesome. It was the first time my wife saw it. And, Steve says, whoa, who's that ugly guy? Andrew. Steve Corbin. It was a really good show. And one of the coolest moments was when it was going to be a sing-along, a cover. So he starts playing Imagine by John Lennon, right?
Oh, that's awesome.
You start hearing Imagine, and everybody knows that riff, that little lick. Mm-hmm. And so he's like, everybody knows, you guys know, you guys ready for a sing-along? Yeah, I know you know the words to this song. Da-da-da-da-da. And so instead of going, Imagine, whatever the first line is, it's the first line of Van Halen's Jump.
I get up.
Yeah. So instead of whatever, he goes, I get, and it's all in key, with
Imagine.
Yeah.
That's cool.
But then does I don't know if it's the entire song, but damn near the entire song of Jump with overlaid on Imagine. I thought it was pretty cool.
That's pretty cool.
Brett, good morning. How are you? Welcome to the show. All right. So conspiracies. Here's what I'm thinking. Andrew and I talk a lot on Wednesday nights, and he is somebody recently who's been like, have you been getting frustrated with me that I'm not going down that path with you at all? Have you been getting frustrated? Like in our conversations, you're like, this is just another person who's not.
No, it'll happen.
Okay.
It'll happen.
Okay.
It happened to me, so if it could happen to me, it could happen to anybody.
So he does not believe that Sandy Hook happened at all, or happened the way they said it happened. Well, okay, we're going to get into Sandy Hook. We're going to get into 9/11, but I want to ease into the conspiracy stuff with the moon landing. Because
maybe we want to start how, because he said it happened to him. I'm curious, what was the point of origin that happened to you, and then I think it's a good way to segue there.
Yeah, one of your really good friends. I just figured out that he's one of your really good friends. Is one of my friends. We used to work together. His name's Jason.
See,
do you know Jason?
I know
I'm not going to drop
Jasons.
his last name on the air, but
all right.
We were just talking one day at work, and I'm like, man, you're freaking crazy, what are you talking about? And just had me watch some videos and stuff, and it kind of evolved from there. I'm like, well, maybe, Jason's intelligent, so I got to really give this a shot and check it out. And just more and more evidence, and it just, you got to stop and look back and be like, man, what if this really is happening?
Okay. So
I wouldn't put it past the government at all. Never. Our government anyway. And once you put that into the equation, it's like, man, I got to stop drinking this Kool-Aid and kind of, clean my glasses off and look at the world differently.
What was the first video you saw? if you can remember.
Was it loose change or one of those?
No, it was just like kind of like, really wacky. It was about 9/11, but like, really far out people with their theories about 9/11. But then once you dive into that, you can kind of filter through it for your own
edification.
Yeah, right. And kind of figure out, okay, these guys are whack jobs maybe, and these guys are not, and kind of sort your way through it.
All right, the reason that I want to start with the moon landing is because I feel like that is the safest place to begin.
It's pretty soft.
The safest place, because you're not going to get people angry about that. But once we get into 9/11 and get into Sandy Hook where people died, then that's where,
emotions can...
we'll see where things go from there. So I'm going to just, what I decided to do that I wanted today, Andrew, bringing you in, is as we get in these conversations, I'm just going to simply Google things like, if we're starting with the moon, was the moon landing fake? And because I lay out for us why it is you think that America lied and faked the moon landing. And Chris, where are you on the moon landing, by the way?
I mean, I thought it happened.
Okay, all right.
I mean, and that's what I thought too, but... Once you start diving into these other things, you start reevaluating these historical moments. And
so the moon, what is your thought with that? The theory with the moon?
No, I don't think it happened. I think that was a studio.
So the first thing,
but has it happened since though?
No, I don't.
You don't think anyone's ever been on the moon?
I don't think America's been on the moon. I mean, there's different theories. Yeah, have we been there and something scared us off, or were we never there in the first place?
But if you don't think America's been there, but that means you think a country's been there then?
Right, yeah.
All right, well, that's my thought. Is like, okay, if a country's been there, then at some point maybe we've gotten caught up as well. Because that's where I go, well, if someone's been there, if you feel like some country has been there, then I'm like, well, then we've all been there. It's kind of how I look at it. Even if it's a country, we're different countries, we're still humans.
Right, we're still humans.
That's how I look at it.
Yeah. I see what you're saying.
All right, so what makes you think that, because I can understand why we would fake it, like, because sometimes when we go down the path of conspiracies, that one of the first questions, well, then why? Why? And I understand why. There was a...
Power control.
Yeah.
Right.
I totally get that.
Yeah.
It's, to
I
see
feel them on that.
The Russians beat us into space,
kind of thing.
Yeah, the Russians beat us into space.
Right.
So we beat them to the moon.
Right. And it's just why haven't we been back? That's one of the big questions. We're sending rovers out to Mars. Light years away, checking out these black holes and all sorts of things. But why haven't we gone to the moon? It's only in comparison with those locations. It's only a few 100 miles away.
I would say the answer that popped in my head is maybe because when they went there, they realized there's really nothing there that we can.
Well, they did it. They won. We did it. We beat the Russians.
And then maybe
there.
There's nothing on the moon of substance that we can even do anything with. Maybe that's why they haven't, because they realize there's nothing there.
Or there's other theories that if we did get there,
something would kill us.
There was something on the dark side of the moon. That. Aliens, call it what you will, that said, hey, you guys got to get up out of here because this is not where you need to be. Don't come back or bad things are going to happen.
All right, I'm typing in how many times have we been to the moon. Elliot has put 6. Let's see. Come on, it's got to be easier than that. How many times have we been to the moon? There have been six manned U.S. landings between 69 and 72, and numerous unmanned landings with no soft landings happening from August of 76 until December of 2013. All right, so according to this...
And that was back in the 60s?
Yeah, according to the moon, or this, we've been to the moon 6 times. There's been 6 manned landings, and that was from 69 to 72. Is what I have here. But now... let's go through, because what I did was, like I said, I'm going to Google stuff, and we're just going to pull up things and talk about it, okay? Brett says there were 6. Yeah, Elliot, there were 6. How many times do we need to?
Well, I don't know. I mean, we got new technology today. Why don't we go back and set up like a substation base there and go, use that as where, we go from Earth to the moon and then the moon out to all these other planets and stuff.
I'm with you on that. I don't know that there's a conspiracy behind that. I think that's just about time and money, and we will probably have a base on the moon sometime in the next 100 or 2 years because it's easier to take off from that gravity than it is to take, to get out of the gravity of the gravitational pull of the Earth. But we'll see. All right, so what I did is I clicked on something from National Geographic. Now, I'm not saying this is the end-all source. This is just 8 moon landing hoax myths busted, according to National Geographic. But I'm not saying that they are the experts or anything. We'll just run them by you, Andrew, and we'll talk about it as we go. First, you can, by the way, when it comes to the footage and whatnot, Andrew, are there things that you saw that you would, that's just not possible or not real? Well,
that's like definitely the flag, when they put the flag on there, the flag was moving. And yeah, I've heard the debunking theories on that, but there's no wind in space. So why is that flag moving? Unless it's on a studio, and that was an oversight.
All right. Well, here we go. I think we're going to probably get to that. And I've heard the theories too. I don't remember exactly what it was, but we'll get to that here in a second. First off, you can tell Apollo was faked because those mysterious reflections come from studio lights on a production set. All right. The fact of the matter is, it's highly unlikely NASA would make such an obvious blunder if they had spent millions of dollars to fake the moon landing. Okay, let's take a step back. NASA's going to release a picture showing studio lights. Hello? The odd lights in the picture are simply lens flares, he said. There's a big fat pentagonal one right in the middle that is from the aperture of the camera itself. So that's how they addressed it, the first one. Next up, you can tell it was fake because those mysterious reflections... Oh, wait. It's the same one. Well, that is going to piss me off if it doesn't go to the next...
There you go. That's it. Perfect.
Yeah, but it's not changing. You see what I'm saying?
That might be all they have then.
Well, I might have to sign up. You see that email thing there? I might have to sign up there, and then they'll give me. That's all right. All right. Let's see if a moon landing fact check 11. That goes to Snopes. A fanciful notion that the 6 Apollo lunar missions launched from the USA between 69 and 72, which landed a total of 12 men who walked on the moon, were elaborate hoaxes staged in top-secret desert locations and movie studios on Earth, have been a familiar aspect of popular culture and conspiracy theories since 1969. But, I mean, Snopes is what Snopes is.
Yes, exactly.
Right. I'm trying to see because I want to find that because I know what you're talking about when it comes to the flag thing, and there wasn't it because I've seen this stuff. I've seen the moon landing conspiracy stuff, and I've seen the rebuttal to it too. So that's what I do usually is I'll see loose change or one of those 9/11 ones, and then go back and a couple months later, then the Popular Mechanics or Popular Science or one of those did their version, so I watched that too. Now, I wasn't there, and I'm not an engineer, but when I watched those two things, the whatever one that came from Popular Mechanics did enough for me to go, okay, I'm good. Let's move on. Elliot, let me see here. I see this from the 11. The Telegraph. Here we go. When the astronauts are putting up the American flag, it waves right here at the top. There is no wind on the moon. The flag is held up by a horizontal bar and simply moves when it is unfurled and as the pole is being fixed into position by the astronauts. The flagpole is light, flexible aluminum and continues to vibrate after the astronauts let go, giving the impression that it is blowing in the wind, is what they're saying here. Next up, no stars are visible in the picture taken by the Apollo astronauts from the surface of the moon. The Apollo landing takes place during lunar mornings. With the sun shining brightly, the stars were not bright enough in this light to be captured in the photographs. And by the way, Andrew, as I'm going through, you can go, stop right there. Stop right there. That's what I think that one's bullshit.
Oh, I think it's all. I think
my
it's
kid's
all
here. Can we, Chris?
What?
My kid is here. Thank you guys for...
Johnny, can you go downstairs into the green room so I can be... No, I'm just kidding.
Just... Thank you.
No, you stay right there.
No, he's kidding. Just
all right, I apologize.
No, I think it's all.
I don't. But damn it, I don't mean
Chris.
I don't.
Darn it. Another one.
Sorry.
My Lord, please, thank you, my good friend.
They're just words. All right. No blast crater is visible in the picture taken to the lunar landing module. The landing module touches down on solid rock covered in a layer of fine lunar dust, so there's no reason why it would create a blast crater, even if the ground were less solid. The landing module weighs 17 tons and yet sits on top of the sand, making no impression. Next to it, astronauts' footprints can be seen in the sand. The layer of lunar dust is fairly thin, so the landing module sits on the sod. By the way, so are any of these?
See, that doesn't. How does that make sense? You're telling me this heavy lunar module doesn't make any impressions, but then a little guy's foot that weighs much. I don't even know if weight is even relevant in space. But
well, it's relevant, but 17 tons on Earth is not 17 tons.
Right. But it should make some kind of mark if a footprint is leaving that bumpy little,
I hear what he's saying.
That famous footprint.
I hear exactly
Why
what
is
he's
there no
saying.
footprint of the lunar module?
Says the dust, whilst blown away by the blast from the descent engines, quickly settles back on the ground and is under the astronauts when they begin their moonwalk. The footprints in the lunar dust with no moisture or atmosphere or strong gravity are unexpectedly well preserved as if made in wet sand, according to this. The lack of wind on the moon means the footprints in fine, dry lunar dust aren't blown away in the way they would be if they were made here on Earth. All right. When the landing module takes off from the moon's surface, there is no visible flame from the rocket. The rockets in the landing module are powered by fuel containing a combination of hydrazine and dinitrogen tetroxide, which burn with no visible flame. And it goes on. I mean, this goes on and on and on to break them down. Well, why is it important to you, Andrew?
Not so much that one. No, I mean once you start looking at the government as making stuff up and faking stuff, it's like, why not? How do I know that we really went to the moon? I'll probably never know.
Well, I think that's what traps us is we put on goggles. We put on goggles that come from the perspective that the government can't be trusted ever.
Right.
And so when you're looking through those goggles, no matter where you look, then you'll see conspiracy. You'll see how this could be something different than what we think it is.
Well, here's something to be said by that, and I understand what you mean, but the problem is just like if you're in a relationship and someone lies to you, right? Now you're just a little different. And so now when they say, you almost have to gain that trust back. So I understand where if that happens, but then another thing happens and then another lie happens, now at that point you're just seeing that person as that you're a liar. And no matter what, and so enough times,
and now you just have to go back and reevaluate previous incidents, and you're like, well, was this a lie?
And that's where you can't blame someone like Andrew or me or anyone else who questions it, because again, one lie sets another lie and another one, and so you just start wondering. And so again, I feel him on that. And did you see the you probably have the video of the 1960s? They're saying goodbye, the Star Spangled Banner with the subliminal message in it. No. So I found one on YouTube where they show it and they slow it down, and you see this message of like consume, don't the government obey, consume. It shows it, and they slow it down, and they show it like fast so you don't see it, and then they slow it down and you see it. And so when you see that done in the 60s, at that point, you think about control and power, and then you see other things happening in the future about control and power divide, the whole 9 yards. You can't help but be like, you know what? Now I just don't trust you.
Okay. All right.
So when things happen, you go, and you almost can't blame anyone who wonders.
The astronauts could not have survived the trip because of the exposure. So these are all the things that they basically break down and tell you how it is possible. And thank you, Elliot, for that, by the way. Adam, I bet this guy thinks The Martian didn't really happen either. Was that the Matt Damon movie?
Oh, The Martian.
Yeah, I remember the Matt Damon movie. I did see that.
Oh, all right. Well, let's get to enough of the moon. That was a long time ago. Let's get to the ones that are going to be a little bit more uncomfortable.
Touchy.
Yeah.
Let's start with 9/11's going on.
All right. We'll start with 9/11.
Did you see Loose Change?
I did, yes.
Loose Change?
Okay. That's, what's his name? Michael, what's his name?
Oh, is that, I can't think of his name.
It's Michael something. I just blanked.
I don't think it was him.
Okay.
He was Fahrenheit 9/11.
Fahrenheit 9/11.
Yeah, he was Fahrenheit 9/11.
9/11. Yeah. Did you see that one? Fahrenheit 9/11?
No. All right, Sharon, be nice. This is going to be a long conversation. Take a deep breath.
Everybody, before we go forward, okay? Let's just remember that everyone has different thoughts. We're all on the same team. Some people just want the truth. We don't know what your path is. You don't know what you've seen. So let's just remember to be very calm and look at things honestly and calmly. We're all in this together. We're all trying to figure it out. So just let's go from there.
She starts off, oh boy, it's him. The guy who doesn't believe in Sandy Hook. All right, Sharon, let's listen to the guy.
Everybody,
let's
just
listen to him.
Okay, because you got to remember, everyone. Like at the end of the day, I believe that Andrew's just trying to set people free. Like I'm all about freedom, and so just for me, like there are things that I was into. I was like, oh, weed is bad, and now the government's selling it. And they were the same people that told me that it was bad, and I believed it. And now they're selling and making money. So we're the world is full of hypocrites. Just like the world is full of hypocrites. We're all human beings, and people are hypocrites. So we don't know. I understand it. Do you have kids?
Yeah, I have a stepson.
Okay, so and that's a different. I had a stepdaughter first, and so that's different. So there's someone who is also raising children, would be mortified if something happened. We're not saying that. Just remember that. So just okay.
All right.
Okay.
So where do we begin with Sandy Hook with you, Andrew?
You want to go into Sandy Hook first or 9/11?
I'm sorry, 9/11. Let's do 9/11 first.
Okay. My first instance is take a soda can and smash it into a concrete block, no matter how hard you want to try, and let me know if it gets through that concrete block, or does that can just crunch up?
All right, so you're saying that it could not have been a plane that flew into...
No.
Okay. Don't we have footage of that?
And there's all sorts of cool things on footage in Star Wars and all sorts of stuff. I mean, we're in a day and age of computers.
What I think is very interesting about this, Chris, is that he didn't even see Fahrenheit, and I did, and he's already off that. And there's things that I watched in that, and also Loose Change, that he also didn't see, that already had me doubting. So just keep going with what you're saying.
I mean, how does an airplane that's made out of a very thin aluminum and fiberglass shell gonna cut? It's not even I'm not sensible. An engineer. How does it even cut through steel and concrete? It's crazy.
Well, it didn't cut through steel.
Well, sure it did, because when you see the
tower didn't immediately come down.
Right, but there's a picture where you can see like a wingtip. I mean, that's even wilder. That's you're telling me the thinnest part of the plane, or one of the thinnest part of the plane, was able to cut a piece of the building out? That's just wild.
But that tin can that you're talking about had just taken off. It was filled with fuel. This wasn't at the end of a flight. This was at the beginning of a flight. It was filled with fuel. So it's more than just a tin can hitting a building.
Okay, so take a full can of soda and do the same thing. It's not going to go through the concrete and steel.
I'm not an engineer.
You're also talking about a lot of velocity.
Right, a lot of velocity too, which adds. But I can't sit here and argue the engineering on it. All I'm going to do is, just like you saw stuff, I saw stuff, and when I watched the Popular Mechanics documentary on this, because I guess what they were talking about too, one of the things that they bring up in the conspiracy, what's the chemical, leucinite or
thermite.
Thermite, and so they, because that's one of the theories, is that they put thermite around these beams to help, bring them down.
And that was one of the thoughts that I had up until I watched another doctor present. And this people that I'm watching, that's not like Jim Bob, in the back of his trailer making up stuff. It's specialists in the field that have their opinions on this, and they bring up very valid points. That's one of the theories, is that it was imploded.
Yeah. Now let me tell you what I saw, and it was either Loose Change or Fahrenheit. They showed the windows, right, and then at one point you see a flash. And you see a flash.
Oh no, you see explosions.
But that's what I'm saying. It's a flash.
But you don't see that. No, go back and watch. You don't see any flashes. You see.
Well, that's what I mean.
Windows
that's
blowing
what I mean.
out. Right, but there's no flashes.
Well, that's what I meant. Like the shows. Well, wait a minute. No. Then maybe we'll see something different, because what I saw. I don't know. Did you see Loose Change or Fahrenheit? Which one did you see? Both?
I don't remember if I saw. I probably did see Fahrenheit, because Michael Moore. That's his name.
Michael Moore. No,
because
Loose Change is the one that you didn't see.
No, Loose Change is the one that I definitely did see.
Okay, but so you don't know if you saw Fahrenheit. Yeah, there's one of them where you literally I guess they do it like in black and white, or put like a black light or something, where they show like a.
Right, you see it. Right. Do you know how Popular Mechanics addressed it?
Drops down, which is the same thing you see in all the demolition.
Right.
So at that moment you go, wait a minute. So if the plane hit up top, why did it blow up? Why did it come from down below? And it hit, but then it was there for such a long time. Such a long time. Like, okay, but now all of a sudden it drops. And they're also talking about there are people who were not allowing people on those floors. Like, people were going to work, like, no, can't go today. Like, like there was people who were working there were talking about how there was like all this work being done for 2 weeks in these same floors, and people weren't allowed to go down.
All right, well, I never read that. I never saw. I'm going to have to get that. We're going to have to do that. That seems like myth complete or urban legend to me.
Well, I mean, there's interviews that you can watch with firefighters who were in the lobby where they said that they heard explosions, multiple explosions going off, and then the building came down and they took off running, out of the building.
Right.
All right. So the way the Popular Mechanic, go ahead.
Well, then there's also said about how there were people who were taking out insurance, like the insurance, claims are changing. Like, they were all saying before there wasn't a insurance policy in case a plane comes through, but then suddenly months prior to that got implemented. Like, oh, in case a plane flies in, and then all of a sudden plane flies in, and so. Again, if it's
so an insurance company would have to be in on this too.
And it's interesting that the guy we were talking about how shady the insurance company were yesterday, that they're doing that. People will screw people over for money, man. So good job, bud. My son is holding up my CD. Love it. Yeah, so there's something I almost wish we should try to come back again, and I'm gonna look at it, you look at it, maybe everyone watch it, and we'll come back and get certain points together, because I just remember watching it and feeling very uneasy.
Yeah, me too. And then that's why I was very excited when Popular Mechanics decided to have a rebuttal, and I watched it too. And they had the guys from the original Loose Change in that other one. They sat them down and they broke down the tape right in front of them.
And what did they say?
Okay, so the what you're talking about, the flashes, the windows coming out.
Now, Fisher, you said what came out of the windows? You said it wasn't a flash; it was dust.
Yes.
Okay.
It was.
Just save on to that information, and we'll move on.
All right. Once each tower began to collapse, the weight of all the floors above the collapsed zone bore down with pulverizing force on the highest intact floors. Unable to absorb the massive energy, the floor would fail, transmitting the forces to the floor below, allowing the collapse to progress downward through the building in a chain reaction. Engineers call this pancaking, and it does not require an explosion to begin. Like all office buildings, the WTC towers contained a huge volume of air. As they pancaked, all the air along with the concrete and other debris pulverized by the force of the collapse was ejected with enormous energy. Quote, when you have a significant portion of a floor collapsing, it's going to shoot air and concrete dust out the windows. Those clouds of dust may create the impression of a controlled demolition, but it is the floor pancaking that leads to that perception.
Okay, but that doesn't explain the different flashes that I physically watched.
Okay. I don't know. All right, let's see.
I'm gonna look it up, bro. I got it.
Yeah, because if you can find it, because when you were talking about the images I saw, because this is where that argument comes in, is in that moment where you see the windows being blown out, and that's when people go, that's a controlled demolition. Let's see. Elliot says, the deeper the conspiracy goes, it starts to seem like only about 1,000 of us in the country were not in on the cover-up. That's one of the arguments I've made over the years, Andrew, is that by the end of this conversation, I'm going to go back and go, how many people had to know about this in order to make this happen? Yeah, and it's hundreds, and there's just no way that, in my opinion, but I'm not going to get worked. I'm getting excited, but I'm not going to. In my estimation, and I am no expert in anything, there's just too many people that would have to know about this, and there's no way in heck.
Well, how many people work at Area 51, and we don't know squat what goes on there? Well, I mean, there's probably thousands of people that work there.
Well, Area 51's
and have worked there.
Also restricted space.
Right, but there's still
it's a restricted Army base.
There's weird stuff going on there, and
hey, I'm all about you know. Start talking about Area 51.
So there's lots of people in on that, on whatever happens there.
Oh, I see what you're saying. So you're saying that there's hundreds of people there at Area 51. There's stuff going down
thousands.
there.
Yeah, I agree.
All right. Yeah, but that's still not somebody. That's still not an attack on America, and then hundreds of people covering it up.
It's really hard for people to believe because that was like a really passionate come together. We're a united America, very patriotic. So it's really hard to step out of that, if you went through that, everybody had an American flag on their shirt. People wore American flags. It was super patriotic, one of a kind for me that I've ever witnessed in my life.
I'll be right back. I gotta take my son to the bathroom.
Okay.
And
Daddy, look, your CD.
it's hard to step away from that and say, wow, that was fake. That wasn't real. The patriotism was real, but the cause of it was fake.
But the thing is, when it comes to 9/11, it's right there in the middle of New York City. It's too massive. There's thousands and thousands of people that witnessed this. I do realize there's a lot of like, hey, how does that happen, or why would that happen before that? That doesn't make any sense to me. But you know what? If I was a doc, had a PhD in engineering, I probably wouldn't have as many of those questions because I would understand physics a little bit better. What else?
What else?
Okay, let me just go through some of the things that are here from the popular mechanics. So
okay, go ahead.
Address that one.
Yeah, I read that one, so go ahead.
All right, so seismic spikes is another one. I'm just going to read some of these things. If you want me to stop on one, all right, WT7 collapse.
Yeah, that was super shady.
Okay, so the claim, and you correct me if I'm wrong on the claim. 7 hours after the two towers fell, the 47-story WTC-7 collapsed. According to 911review.org, the video clearly shows that it was not a collapse subsequent to a fire, but rather a controlled demolition amongst the internet investigators. The jury is in on this one.
Why did it fall? I mean, I know why it fell. That's where Cheney and Bush had a bunch of their records and banking records of stuff that was going to get them in trouble, big trouble.
Okay,
like indictment stuff.
All right. Well,
and
there's
7 hours. 7 hours later, and I'm I'm all about Bush, but he's shady. The shady things took place.
Okay.
Most of our politicians, any side they are, they're crooked and screwed up. So
Firestorm, the number 7 stands amid the rubble of the recently collapsed Twin Towers. Damaged by falling debris, the building then endures a fire that rages for hours. Experts say this combination, not a demolition-style implosion, led to the roof line, quote-unquote, kink that signals WT7's progressive collapse. Fact, many conspiracy theorists points to FEMA's preliminary report, which said there was a relatively light damage to 7 prior to its collapse. With the benefit of more time and researchers now support the working hypothesis that 7 was far more compromised by falling debris than FEMA report indicated. The most important thing we found was that there was, in fact, physical damage in the south face of the building number 7. On about a third of the face to the center and to the bottom, approximately 10 stories, about 25% of depth of the building was scooped out. So when you hear or read stuff like this, Andrew, you don't necessarily, you just take it with a grain of salt because this can just this could be a lie.
Completely.
Okay.
Completely.
So how do you discern between what you want to accept as fact and not?
I mean, I try and evaluate it once you're able to put the goggles on, if you'll say, or take them off, however you want to look at it, and you're able to understand that this was a fake incident. You're able to pick through. Okay, this is a whack job. This is this is not. You can kind of tell. Some people are just so far out. You can't even get a gauge on it.
So do you have a theory on what exactly happened?
Yeah.
When it comes to 9/11?
Yeah, I do.
Like who's behind it? Why it happened the way it happened?
We're behind it, unfortunately.
Okay. So it was the American. Was Osama bin Laden involved in your estimation?
No.
Huh.
No. I mean, here's a quote. This is a quote just from some random guy. I screenshotted it because it kind of sums up everything. This was a quote on a press conference that of a lady speaking about Dr. Judy Wood. She was speaking about how 9/11 took place. And let me find this quote.
All right, I want to read a couple things while you're looking for that.
Go ahead.
So before, I'm going to the comments here from Sharon. So before, when we talked about Chris, Chris said Bush wasn't in on it. So he's saying that reason. Oh, so are you saying that this whole thing was to cover up a crime? That this whole thing was just to get rid of those records?
Yeah, and to start a war. What does war do? Who made the most? Cheney has I can't think of the name of the company off the top of my head.
Halliburton. Was it Halliburton?
Yeah, and that's still making money over there, and that's his company. It's all about money. War's always about money.
So it was more than, because otherwise you just get in there and start shredding documents. If you're just trying to get a hold of some documents, you're not going to try to blow up an entire building.
Right. So it was kind of like a twofold. But I'm going to read you this quote. And again, this wasn't me, and this is just some random guy quoting on this video, but it kind of grabs the whole point. He said, a caveman on a dialysis machine sent a gang of Arabs with box cutters who could barely fly Cessnas, infiltrating NORAD and knocking down 3 buildings with 2 planes. And one of those Arabs' passports flew out of a plane from the rubble and into the FBI's hands. That's the official story. I mean, when you look at it like that sounds wild.
Right. When you oversimplify it like that.
Right. And that's basically what they're saying took place. And the passport, that comes from
but they're saying
whatever flight went into the ground.
They're making Osama bin Laden seem less nefarious because he was on a dialysis machine. Well, he couldn't have
not so much that. I'm just kind of showing that he's feeble, you know. He's in BFE in a cave. We can't find him. But it was beyond bin Laden, because that's how that whole structure set up, you know. It's taught through generations, through children. So
So you're saying then that 9/11 was perpetrated by us, not A, but it was a twofold thing, at least twofold. One was to destroy records that were in some of those buildings that would have brought down Bush and Cheney or something like that.
Right.
And the other was to start a war so that it would benefit those who had invested in the defense sector.
And it has completely.
Oh, I know it has.
And there's another theory as to the buildings actually didn't collapse. They weren't detonated. And this was something relatively new that was brought to me, and it completely makes sense. Dr. Judy Wood. She is a...
Dr. Judy Wood.
Yes, sir. Mechanical engineer, material management engineer. She knows her stuff, reference to concrete and steel and buildings. And I'm sure we've seen that movie from the 80s.
All the people of New York City who saw the planes.
Well, I also heard that it was a missile.
That was at the Pentagon.
That's 110%.
Okay, Pentagon.
110% at the Pentagon.
And then they were talking about they were playing the rescue call, the frantic calls from the people calling their parents from the plane, and they're replaying them. And then what I heard, they're like, hey, they said their first and last name, and I was like, if I'm calling my mom, I'm not saying this is Chris McCarty, mom, or like, and I heard that with my own ears, like, that's kind of odd. And then they mentioned the fact, like, who says their first and last name, and there are multiple people doing it, and it's just, listen, man, it's really scary. And have you ever tried to cover something up? Something that you've done? Have you ever tried to cover anything up?
I'm sure somewhere nothing comes to the front of my...
And have you been successful?
I don't know. I'd have to think about it for a little bit.
And then I say, with enough money, do you think you could cover up anything with enough money? And then I also ask this, what are people willing to do for money? There are people who are willing to kill for money, get naked for money. There are people who are willing to lie for money. There are people who are willing to try to rob a bank, who are willing to die for money.
But you have to have people in place at each one of these airports, at the Pentagon.
Absolutely.
Of course. Like, again, it goes back to dozens, if not hundreds of people would have to know about this.
But then I say this, and you're the one who likes to say possibility. Well, couldn't there be a possibility with enough money to pay someone off? Like, people talk about people have a price. Imagine if you've got $200 million. All
right, is there enough to pay you off for something like that? Not me.
I know, and that's why we have this show. Thank you. My point is, imagine you went to someone who didn't have much, and you said, "Hey, what would it take for you to do this and be quiet, and you'll be set for life?" There are people who are not like me and you, Chris.
That's fine. If they're 1, 2, 3 people, maybe, but not 100.
But what I'm saying, so you're trying to tell me that
you're giving humanity too much credit,
and that's what I'm saying, Chris. We just showed people were lynching people. Human beings were
50 years ago.
Okay, so what I'm saying is are we that far removed?
I understand there is a lot of
and all
darkness in humanity.
And what we're saying is, I think the wise move is to say, I don't really know, but there's a chance. And if there's a chance, you won't get caught off guard, because it's like, how about this? I don't mean to sound like a paranoid dude. It's just what I am.
Well, that's what conspiracy theories are.
But check it out. When I go into a restaurant or something with my kids, first thing I'm doing is I'm looking for exits, just in case for my kids.
Didn't I tell you that?
That's Andrew too.
And I don't sit with my back
never
to people. I'm
it's
always
like you guys are in the mafia.
No, it's just.
But I say to you, it's like, do we not see things happen? Do things happen? What happened at Waffle House?
I understand. I'm not living my life that way. I don't care how many conspiracies.
But what I'm saying, I'm not saying I'm a scared dude. I'm just saying I want to be prepared.
Absolutely.
Be prepared in the chance that anything happens.
My point is this, that when you are in that place,
Mm-hmm.
when you're in that place of, and I don't want to call it paranoia because it gives it a negative
I agree.
twist to it, but I also want to say it is paranoia, but paranoia is a very important part of our instincts. All right. Paranoia is a very important part of it.
Right.
It keeps you alive. You know,
Yes.
if you're choosing between, well, maybe should I walk into that cave or not? The paranoia keeps it out. Well, whatever's in there is not, it's not going to get you if you don't go in.
Yeah, I think
But
it's just an acknowledgement of the possibilities of life, what could happen. And I just feel like I've seen a lot, like he's seen, like we've all seen a lot. And so I get it. I'm a very positive dude. You know me. I don't necessarily walk around like looking over my shoulder, because I don't want to live like that. I just say, hey, I'm just paying attention. Just paying attention. Just paying attention.
Because I know, Chris, you say that. Andrew, you do the same thing. There's a buddy of mine who was in law enforcement all of his life. He does. There's no way that he walks into a building or a restaurant without doing the same thing. He's going to know where the exits are. All my friends that are in the military or ex-military,
And so,
same thing.
And so it's interesting. Remember, I was talking about the book Many Lives, Many Masters. And in that book, what they were talking about is like this woman, she went back into crazy past lives, from Egypt to being back in with leprosy and war, all these world wars, and some people still have an affinity. Like, I don't know why I'm drawn to Asian culture, especially like samurais. I don't know why I'm drawn to it, but maybe I was that in the past life. I don't know why I'm drawn to Native American culture. And then I'm looking at my 23andMe, and they say apparently like I had that in my DNA, in my blood. So we don't know if maybe a past life, if that is what's true, if in a past life I was some kind of security guy. I know that when things go down, I'm the first one to run to save the day. I saw an accident, and I was with my family where we just finished parking and heard this big boom. I look to the left and I see smoke coming up, and I go, I gotta go. She's like, Chris, I said, I got to go. And I took off, and I'm tearing this car up, trying to get somebody out. Like, that was just natural to me. Why me and not somebody else? I don't know. So maybe instead of looking at people being paranoid, maybe it's just something that they've developed from, like you say, military or fighting or whatever it may be. But I'm the way I am.
Here's the thing. If I go down that path with you guys and live my life like that, then I will see things that aren't there. If I'm constantly looking for the bad guy, if I'm constantly looking for somebody shady, I'm going to see it.
Right.
That doesn't mean that it's actually there, but I will see it more. And I don't need to, if that guy comes walking in, if I'm in that place, in that Waffle House or somewhere else, and that happens, well, first of all, you're making an assumption that just you knowing where the exits are and watching the front door, you'll be able to do anything. Now, Andrew, do you
the illusion
carry?
of safety? That's fine.
Do you carry?
No, I don't care.
All right.
And
Or is that
neither
a
do
question
I.
you don't ask people?
No, you can
ask.
ask.
Okay. No.
We both don't carry. Ain't that something?
Okay.
So I'm not that paranoid walking like it's the Wild West. I
got a knife in the car, but I use that for
got my hand,
other
man.
things.
I got my slingshot in my back pocket. That's about it.
I mean, I think again, when you're saying all this, and it makes perfect sense. I think like there's a energy thing, right? I can look at someone and I can tell if they're a good person. I can look at someone and tell they're kind of shit. It's an energy thing, right? So not to necessarily say I'm just looking and profiling everyone. It's just an energy thing. I don't know. So I'm not trying to say I've never been in a situation where that happened, so I don't know if I could be like, oh, it's about to go down, let's ride. I'm not saying that. I can say that I've been in places where something told me, get out of here, man, get out, and I just had to leave. I got to get out of here, and a fight ended up breaking out. I heard about it later. Like, I don't know, but so I don't know, man. I think it's okay to. I love life, and I want to preserve life and preserve my own.
Can I share with you the best I can do, the best I can give you on any kind of conspiracy when it comes to 9/11 is that there was, America did not, the best I can do, we didn't do it. It went down basically like they said it did, except maybe, someone knew it was going to happen.
Yeah.
Somebody went, oh, crap. I said crap.
That's fine. Thank you. Thank you, dude. That's
someone went, oh, this is about to go down. And they didn't do anything about it because the way it played out in their head, it fit some agenda.
But
right?
they knew it was going to go. It wasn't like, oh, this is going to go down in 5 minutes. They knew this was going to go down months in advance.
That's what I heard. And that's it. Listen, man. I think this. If it's correct that there was something in like an inside job or whatever you want to say, it would have to take lots of time to plan something like that to go down, and that would take time planning, months. And listen, man, we're talking about billions of dollars, and people don't care about other people. Just naturally don't care about other people. Walk by, see some homeless dude, you don't even pay attention to them. So why would you think that the government would care about? You're just a number. All right. I don't know, man. I don't know. It's sad. I don't want to think that we live in this life, but I've just seen too much to just be like, all right, I'm just gonna bite the cookie. Sorry, I just can't.
All right. So I want you guys. I'm going to give we're going to go from 9/11 to Sandy Hook, but I want you to give me your final thought. Like one thing you want people to think about before we move on to Sandy Hook. I will start. So we'll give you guys a second to think. As far as 9/11 goes, I do not believe in any conspiracies whatsoever. I think it likely happened pretty close to the way they said it happened. But like I said, I am not 100% in favor of our government. Or any government, any huge institutions. They're all capable of very nefarious things. And the best I could ever do, conspiracy-wise, is what I just said, that maybe somebody, and I don't think it'd be months out, but maybe a day or two out, went, oh, this is happening, and then let it happen because they thought it, for whatever reason, they thought it would be better for America, or whatever reason they thought. But other than that, I think 9/11 probably happened pretty much the way they said it happened. Andrew?
9/11 definitely didn't happen the way that they tell us that it happened.
Okay.
They did that to bring America together and to launch a war on a country that really had nothing to do with anything, just to make money. Okay. That we're still dealing with the remnants of, and probably will for the next 20, 40 years or
Mr.
so.
McCarty.
I think that the greatest thing that you can do in this life is know your purpose and why you're here. And that will bring you sheer joy. I think that in our homes, do your best to mind your home, mind your family, because that's what you clearly can control. Believe in truth, love, and God, and everything else. And I think it's not a bad thing to not just believe what someone says, but believe what you see, and understand that there could be more to the story.
Okay.
Just there could be more. And I would say go check out some Dave Chappelle when he was talking about what happened to him. Just go to YouTube and look at Dave Chappelle. He talks about what happened to him, and then look at Michael Jackson, look at Bill Cosby.
Well, Chris has a lot of conspiracies that I never even heard about concerning the black community.
I want
successful black actors.
But I gotta go. I got my baby boy, and I mean, Andrew, you're awesome, and I want it. And listen, I'm on the show. This is my show. Go. We'll do it. But just everyone, man. Just I understand, man. It's a scary time and all that. Just the best you can do, man, is just love your family and love your friends and love yourself, and just all right, believe in that.
You gotta go do you. And
Thanks for coming, man.
Yeah, man.
And then Andrew. Now, of course, he leaves us here with the most sensitive of the topics.
Yeah, well, it's my baby. I don't want to.
Whoa!
Say bye to everybody real quick.
Bye.
Bye, Jahani.
See you, Bubba.
We're gonna end this segment with cuteness.
Bye, buddy.
Look at that cute little face. Look that way in the camera. Okay, eyebrows. Do the daddy face. Daddy face. Bye, guys.
All right, love you, man.
See you, man.
See you, Johnny. All right, so which brings us to the most sense, and this is the most recent one too. And I enter into this conversation with a lot of trepidation because I know things can get taken out of context really quickly, and and this is the internet, man. You know, this isn't just a radio show here in Tampa where only the people here in Tampa will hear it, and once it goes out, it's gone. This is something that people can come back to. So the next up here, Sandy Hook. The conspiracies surrounding Sandy Hook. Please explain it to me, because from the conspiracy perspective, it didn't happen, right?
No.
It didn't happen at all. No children died.
No, I don't believe it. And like you said, we had spoken about this before. You said, well, what about these grieving parents? And I would love to sit down and have a kind and sensitive conversation with them. I'm not a complete...
You know, the parents are suing Alex Jones right now.
Yeah, I heard about that.
Because Alex Jones, I don't know if he's the one that invented the conspiracy, but he is the one that definitely put fuel on it and made it popular. That Sandy Hook never even happened. Now, what are the details of the conspiracy?
Yeah. Basically, you know, you go back to Columbine, okay? I can watch the surveillance video from Columbine and watch these kids blowing away teachers and other students, and point blank range, pretty graphic video. So that video is out there for anybody to see. I know LiveLeak, if you want to try and find it, it's on liveleak.com. They didn't tear the school down. Terrible things happened there. Lots of people died. Most recently, we look at...
so one of the questions you had, they tore down Sandy Hook? Is what you're saying?
Yeah, Sandy Hook was torn down.
And you think that's to cover up evidence?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's ludicrous. They changed the law when these watchdog groups were trying to get public records, images of these deceased children and teachers or whatever, and it is morbid and graphic, and I don't think that should be put out on the web for everybody to see, but someone should have been able to see it and validate that. Yep, I saw, you know, blown up kids or whatever happened.
So what if you did sit down in front of these parents and they're sitting there fighting back tears and rage, trying to explain to you that they lost their kid? Would you even believe them?
I would definitely go into it with an open heart to see what they have to say.
Okay. I just went to Wikipedia to find the conspiracy claims, and so I'd like to go through that, and then you interject.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah.
As you see
fit. Go ahead.
Well, Nikki says it makes you wonder. You know, she chimes in. It makes you wonder. All right, it does make you wonder. Some of these, but that's, to me, that's how conspiracies work. There's a lot of, well, that's weird. Well, why would that happen that way? Da 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 da. And you just connect a couple of those dots and go, okay, it's got to be some grand conspiracy. But here we go.
But that's true. I mean, when you think about all these public records requests that came in to get pictures of the inside, there's pictures that they've released, like maybe 10, that just show classrooms and walls and stuff, but no victims.
But here's another thing that I'd like to throw at you. Every time there's a mass shooting, conspiracy theories immediately begin before anything, because there are those in America that believe that every time there's a mass shooting, it's the government trying to take your guns away from you. The only reason that Sandy Hook happened and Columbine happened, all these happened, is because the government set it up so they could take your guns from you.
And that's
those
what
people
they did
are paranoid and crazy.
But it validated it in Sandy Hook. I mean, they passed a law that assault rifles were banned. So that was what was gained out of that.
But that doesn't mean that the original statement's true, that this was all a setup to take your guns away. All right,
I definitely think it was a propellant.
Let me go to the conspiracy claims according to Wikipedia, and you can correct me if Wikipedia's wrong. It was a hoax and a false flag operation staged by the United States government. Others claim the attack is being used by politicians to push through new gun control legislations or to otherwise persecute gun owners and survivalists. A lawyer and dentist, Orly Tate's best known for her promotion of Barack Obama's citizenship birther conspiracy theories, was quoted as asking, was Adam Lanza drugged and hypnotized by his handlers to make him into a killing machine? And first thing I'm taking away from this, Andrew, is that this particular conspiracy is not saying it didn't happen. This is saying that it did happen. It's just the government is the one behind it. Talk show host Clyde Lewis wrote, "Don't you find it all interesting that Adam Lanza, the alleged shooter, woke up one day and decided to shoot up a school and kill children at about the same time that Barack Obama told the UN that he would sign the small arms treaty?" Well, though that's classic conspiracy theory. I don't even know what you call that.
You just call that a coincidence?
Yeah, coincidence. Yeah. Yes.
I mean, I suppose, I guess it could be, but that's pretty wild. I mean, I think that's almost closed-minded to say that it's a
coincidence.
A coincidence, absolutely.
We have mass shootings. Now we're having mass shootings every few weeks, and there's other things happening in the world, and some of those mass shootings are going to coincide with other things that are happening in the world.
Right. Like, I don't think anything with this Waffle House, if you want to call that a mass shooting, I don't think there was any... even with Parkland, I don't think there was any. I think that was just some whack jobs.
We're talking conspiracies today with my buddy Andrew. And now that Wikipedia brought up birther, where are you on that?
On what? I'm sorry?
The birther issue with Barack Obama.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, God, here we go.
Yeah. I completely think that I don't think that he's an American citizen.
What do you believe, Andrew? What do you believe?
There's lots that I believe.
I believe that children are the future. You teach them well and you let them lead the way.
Well, that's because it's fact.
All right, let's see other claims. According to Live Science, no one, regardless of what side of the gun control issue they are on, can deny that guns played a key role in the Sandy Hook killings, so the conspiracy theorists must instead challenge the claim that the attack even occurred. They believe it's all a hoax to scare people into supporting more gun control and a step towards an outright... Now listen, for those who are adamant gun advocates or whatever, yeah, you get nervous every time there's a mass shooting. Because, people are going to go, hey, here's another mass shooting. Maybe we should do something about the weapons. Well, how about this? How about you just continue your solid ground debate based in the Second Amendment and not make up dumb shit every single time that there's a mass shooting and just go, well, this got to be the government because now they're going to try to come get our guns again. Just know that every time there's a mass shooting, those who are anti-guns are going to use that moment to try to change things. But don't make up stupid shit about conspiracies. Yes, sir.
I don't think it's making
Stupid
it
shit.
up,
It is.
So then tell me this. Why to block the public records request at Sandy Hook was a House bill created that was passed that completely exempt the Sandy Hook shooting from releasing those public records, and then they bulldozed the school. A brand new school at that.
I don't have answers for that.
I mean, even in Parkland, they didn't. I can see video of bloody bodies of some sort, either students or teachers. While this guy was running around shooting people.
Did it have what was their excuse at the time? Why they say they blocked this? Because it was all children.
Because it was all children.
Okay,
right.
well that kind of makes sense. And
there's all children in Columbine. There's all children in Parkland, and Columbine's pretty graphic. I mean, you can see like up close with rifles and stuff right in the face. I mean, it's pretty like, wow. What's the difference?
Somebody's on right now and says they don't believe in the moon. They think it's just the backside of the sun. They also don't believe that the earth is round. It's flat.
Each his own.
All right, so let me get to the Alex Jones claim. September of 2014, conspiracy theorist Alex Jones, who runs InfoWars, which had previously claimed that the murders were a false flag attack perpetrated by the government, made a new conspiracy claim. So this is where you are, Andrew. No one died at Sandy Hook Elementary School because the uniform crime reports showed no murders in Newton for 2012, and that the victims were child actors. This claim is false and misrepresents the FBI report. In reality, because the Connecticut State Police was the lead investigator after the attack, the Sandy Hook victims were included in the statewide records rather than the Newtown statistics. In November of 2016, Erica Lafferty, the daughter of Don Lafferty, Hochsprung, the school principal who was shot and killed at Sandy Hook, wrote an open letter to then President-elect Donald Trump, calling upon him to denounce Jones after Trump had appeared on InfoWars during his presidential campaign and lavished praise on his presenter, saying that the conspiracy theorists had an amazing reputation and pledging not to let him down. On February 20th, 2017, the Newtown School Board wrote to President Trump and urged him to recognize the murders of 26 people at Sandy Hook and to remove your support from anyone who continues to insist that the tragedy was staged or not real. Trump did not respond to the letter. And just recently, the parents of 2 victims of the shooting sued Alex Jones for $1 million, and we'll see how that plays out.
And that's just wild to me. I mean, but that falls all under the control. You know, oh, you're going to speak out about, you know, you're going to try and expose us. Guess what? We're gonna jam it down your throat. We're going to file a lawsuit against you. Now,
the bulldozing of the school, you look at as covering up evidence.
Absolutely.
But it was because it was too painful. And you say, well, they didn't bulldoze Columbine. However, last year, the church that was shot up out west, I can't remember exactly what state it was in, but I want to say that happened right before the Vegas shooting or right after that Vegas shooting. They bulldozed that afterwards because the parishioners and the people in that town, it was just too painful. The PTSD that would be associated with a lot of those people trying to walk back into that building, they decided it was best just to level it. So it's happened again where they leveled a building after a mass shooting. So to me, even though that doesn't prove anything anywhere else, as far as well, they didn't do it there. Well, they did do it somewhere else as well.
Well, I would argue on that point, you know, the church is private property. So that's built by the parishioners, built by donations. They can do whatever they want with it. They can cut out the roof or knock down walls or whatever they want to do. You're talking about a school that's funded by public money, tax money. And it was a brand new school at that.
I know, but this wasn't like one kid got killed either. It was 26, right? You remember the number?
No, it was 0.
In your confidence, do you believe that like 100% in your heart that you really believe that Sandy Hook did not happen?
Yes. Agreed. It did not happen.
Why?
Show me proof. Show me some dead bodies. I know that sounds morbid and terrible, but show it to me.
So it would be enough for you if they just whatever they did with all the records back then and all everything.
I'm sure they still
if they
have
just
them.
released them. They just release it to the public, then you'll go, okay, there we go. Thank you very much. I'll move on to my next conspiracy.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, that's a tough one. You know, I can't sit here and go, you're an idiot and you're wrong and you're this and you're that, because, you know, I don't know. You know, I wasn't there, obviously. But as far as me being another citizen here in America,
I mean, why not turn the school into a memorial like they did in Pulse?
I'm sure there's a memorial up there somewhere.
I'm sure there's like a little balloon thing or something up there. But I'm talking about making the whole school a memorial like they did with the Pulse nightclub.
Even Nikia says you can't erase history. These events are now a part of history. Getting rid of these buildings seems, quote unquote, fishy to her as well. So there you go. And that's the thing, you know, Andrew, it's not like
if you cast doubt and then you can just look and then you start looking at everything at a different perspective. And then you're like, wow, if this happened, then this probably could have happened. And then this probably could have happened. And yeah, it could be just a conspiracy theory, but I think we would be doing a disservice to ourselves not to look at all angles.
It's just when it comes to Sandy Hook, I'm not.
Just because it's kids. But kids
die
all the time.
So many of them.
Kids die. You know, I mean, it's so.
It wasn't like some mysterious thing that happened somewhere where there was nobody saw it, nobody was a part of it, and we're trying to piece it together. This was a huge event. Yeah, listen, man. I don't have any proof for you.
Small community, so it very easily could have been. You know, you're worried about 9/11 with thousands of people. We're talking about a little podunk town.
But Andrew, the reason that I wanted to have this conversation with you today is not because you're just a one-off
right.
crazy.
No.
There are hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people that do not trust the government. And whether it's Sandy Hook or 9/11 or the moon, they don't believe the things happened
and it's sad.
That they did.
I mean, I wish I could, but I just can't.
But you had talked about doubt, placing that a little bit of doubt. And that's it's going to be hard to get me to go there with you because I'm not going to say that's a tactic, but once you can crack that, once that doubt starts to set in, then like you said, you go, well, then you can see everything in a different light. Well, the way I see it, it grows like a cancer. And now you don't trust anything. And now you are one of those paranoid survivalists out in the middle of nowhere with your gun cache or whatever, however it's pronounced, waiting for the government to come for you.
I mean, you know, when it was brought to me, I never thought in a million years that I would be considered a conspiracy theorist or whatever. It was just the door was opened, and I chose to walk in and look around.
Okay. And then Chris says, I used to think the government was out to get me. Now I realize it's everyone who's out to get me. Well, Andrew, thank you so much for being a part of the show today and coming in and talking conspiracies. Are there any websites or videos you would like to implore people to track down for themselves?
In reference to 9/11, just Google Dr. Judy Wood. She has her own website. She has a book, and at first glance, her stuff looks pretty far-fetched and out there, but she brings up some very valid points
from a certain perspective.
She's a doctor, you know. I mean, she's smart.
Doctors are some of the in all due respect,
right?
Well, high IQ people are some of the craziest people in history. All right? Just because we have a high IQ doesn't mean we have a solid grasp on reality. It just means you can process things a little bit quicker than other people. I feel like some of these happened, like 9/11, but I feel the government knew prior. Vegas government. Oh, so she does. She's not even. Nikki is not even confident that Vegas happened the way that they said in Vegas.
I don't think it happened the way.
Oh, Jesus.
But that's for another day.
So, is everything a conspiracy? Do you not believe anything that's ever happened, any major event that's ever happened?
No, I think Parkland happened.
Okay. All right.
I mean, I saw pictures of bleeding people all over the place.
Okay.
Yeah, completely believe that.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Andrew. It was a pleasure. And I will see you next Wednesday night at Park and Rec.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so for those of you that come out on a Wednesday night at Park and Rec, while I'm up on stage doing karaoke, he's one of the guys eyeballing the exits. He's one of the guys making sure you're safe while you're out there. Thank you so much for being a part of the Wake.Show today. Thank you so much to Single Source Insurance. Also, next week, don't forget, Wednesday is our 100th episode of the Wake.Show. We're going to do it live from our major psych room down here. We've never done a show with this show from there before, and very excited about that. We'll be inviting some guests down and doing some giveaways that day, and that'll be brought to you by DATS and the DATS group next Wednesday. So have a great day. Be kind to yourself. Be good to your fellow man, and I will see you tonight at trivia night at Masteries, 7 o'clock there in Blythe Pass in St. Pete Beach. Have a great day, and don't forget, most importantly, to let your crazy breathe. Thank you. And